Hey gang, today is July 23rd. It's a Tuesday, and I decided to do a little screen share today so you can get a good idea of where you can find the same data that I do in the morning. And I think this will be helpful for you. You don't have to use this software. It's called barchart.com. It's free, doesn't cost anything, but it's really good for giving you a good idea of what's going on in the world. So, the first thing you want to do is if you go to the home page, usually in the morning, you'll see Asian stock markets, you'll see global economy. It's a great place to see where things happen overnight. So we're looking overnight, we're seeing that Asian stocks rise in hopes for US-China trade talks. That means the futures, S&P futures are probably up. Let's just kind of go through this. Traders were encouraged by US Treasury Secretary Mnuchin's suggestion last week the trade envoys might be meeting in person. And that may help temper anxiety over US-Iranian tensions. Now, do I think China's going to work anything out? No, not yet. It's going to take a lot more than the secretary talking, all right? There has to be actual activity. There has to be bean counters meeting. I'm not seeing any of that yet. So, but this is not bad for the stock market. Let's look at the futures. Let's look at the S&P futures. All right, as I expected, the futures are up about the E-mini S&P is up about 8 points. The Dow futures are up 88 points pre-open. Volatility's down. Nothing really major. Let's look at bonds as well. We want to look at bonds whenever we hear anything about China. Always good to hear about bonds. Yeah, T-bonds are down just a little bit. Expect a little more downside. Market's probably going to be random to a little stronger. Remember, this Friday we have the GDP. So I don't think a lot of funds are going to make a lot of activity or going to make a lot of bets prior to the GDP. And the number we're looking at for the GDP, the growth rate for this quarter is 2.1%. And remember, the GDP will decide whether the Fed will lower rates or not. So it's a huge, huge report, and it's the biggest report of the quarter. Now, earnings are better than expected. Let's look at some earnings. We're going to go to the stock chart, and we're going to look at earnings over the last 7 days, or within the next 7 days, sorry. I'm doing all this in real time, and this is not rehearsed, and I'm just trying to give you guys a good idea. Now, you want to organize by date. It's already organized. I would just start looking at volume. Whenever you see a large volume, like 2 million shares, that's probably a big stock. So today, ATI is announcing. Let's look at some other big stocks. Chubb is announcing. Centene is announcing. Discover Financial Services is announcing. A couple of bank stocks, a lot of bank stocks actually, as you could see to the left. Graphic Package Holding is announcing, that's a big one. Harley Davidson is announcing. Interpublic, KeyCorp, Coca-Cola is announcing. So we have blue chips and banks. Magic Investment, yeah, still bank stocks. So again, the numbers so far have been better than expected. Let's look at some charts. Let's look at the SPY, okay? I should probably log in before I do a demonstration, right? It would probably help everybody. All right. We're still near the highs. I'm looking for support right around the 296.54 area. The longer term support is a 295. I wouldn't really think about the 296 or 297 being broken. Look at the first major support line right around 295.30. But this is the point I'm looking at. I think the stock market's going to come down to the 290 level. All right, very important. So look for a little bit of congestion, more consolidation, a little choppiness till Friday. Then potentially look for stocks to come down to the 290 level before coming back higher. Let's look at see where the 50-day line would be. Let's take a look here. I want to see if the 50-day line, well, look at that, right there. So yeah, expect the market to come back down right to the 290 level. If you're looking at the E-mini S&P, that would be the 2925 level, somewhere around there. But notice that the 50-day moving average is right around this area. So I am expecting stocks to come down here before moving higher. Maybe around here we'll see some resolution with China and global economy. Now, lastly, I want to show you guys something really cool. You go to market momentum, right? This is the overall stock market. Look at the 50-day moving average. There's 53% of stocks in the overall market that's trading above the 50-day moving average. That's much lower in comparison to the S&P 500. Look at the 200-day moving average, 52%. Now let's look at the S&P 500. All right. Remember those numbers, low 50 percentiles, right? Now let's look at the S&P 500. 67% of stocks trading above, S&P stocks trading above the 50-day moving average. Not low 50 percentile, high 60th percentile. Look at the 200-day, 64%, not low 50th, middle 60th percentile. That's telling me that the S&P stocks, the large caps, that's where the volume's moving into. The problem with that is the S&P 500 and the broader market over time have a correlation of about 99.9%. So that means either the large caps are greatly overbought, grossly overbought, or the broader market is at fair value. And I believe the broad market's at fair value, and I believe the S&P will gradually fall or revert back to the overall market, and that the S&P is overbought. And what we're looking right now is internals. This is a really good analysis. Do this, go over this a few times. It'll really help you get a better understanding of market action. All right, I will talk to you guys later. Cheers.